A very good evening to you on this 5th of February 2020. My name is Nina Shaban. It's time for Metropol Primetime News. We start off by taking a look at the highlights. Kenya's second president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, will be accorded a state funeral next Wednesday on the 12th of February 2020. We'll take a look back at the late President Moi's achievements on the education front. Business activity slowed in January to its lowest level since April last year, the latest Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index reveals. All right, a very good evening once again. My name is Nina Shaban and our sign language interpreter is Winnie Adoya. Now, we begin with an update on the planned state funeral of Kenya's second president, that's Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. The former president will be buried next Wednesday on the 12th of February at his Kabarak home in Nakuru County. Now, at the same time, a funeral service has been scheduled to take place on Tuesday, the 11th of February at the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani, Nairobi. The late President Moi will be accorded a state funeral with all appropriate civilian honors and full military honors in accordance with the presidential proclamation made on Tuesday following his death. Moi, who led the country from 1978 to 2002, died early on Tuesday morning at the Nairobi hospital while undergoing medical treatment. Reports indicate the public will be allowed to view his body from Saturday to Monday. All right, so during his tenure as Kenya's second president, Moi was fondly referred to as teacher number one. This was perhaps in reference to his early career as a teacher. Indeed, one of the enduring legacies of his administration was his focus on Kenya's education sector. Now, when he took over as president in 1978, the number of schools across the country, which include primary, secondary, teacher training colleges and technical training institutes, stood at 11,157. Sorry about that. Now, by 1986, that number stood at 15,921 and progressively grew to 22,870 schools, more than double the number 24 years later. School enrollment across primary, secondary, teaching training colleges and technical institutes nearly tripled during the Nyayo era, reaching a peak of 7 million students from just under 3 million students in 1978. It's also during Moi's rule that the number of universities in Kenya grew from just one, the University of Nairobi, to 5, which include Kenyatta University, Moi University, Egerton University, and Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Now, to help us take a look at education during the Moi's Moi years, I'm joined by Peter Munga, an education expert and a member of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, also known as NAT. A very good evening to you.
My pleasure.
Oh, thank you for rushing through and coming to our studio. Let's start off by looking at the transition of education from the 7423 to 844. That was spearheaded by the late President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. What prompted the shift to 844? Was it necessary to have that shift?
Yes, very necessary. 844 was more of a skills-oriented education system when it began. President Moi, the late President Moi, was able to articulate, to go through all the processes of curriculum implementation, the piloting, the legislation, the financing. He did all those things. And when 844 started, those who are the pioneers of 844 will tell you, it had all the components that we are now seeing in the CBC curriculum. The students will be allowed, the pupils will be allowed to make hats, to cook, to sew clothes, you know, all that kind of
home science.
Home science was there, music, drama, all these things were in that curriculum when it began. It's just that as it went along, it was diluted and other things came in and other experts came in and said, you know, this thing is too expensive. But Moi, when he began the 844 system, it was one of the best. Let me say this. It still is one of the best. That is why you see even international companies are pitching tent in Nairobi and in Kenya. You must have seen on social media the other day saying that Kenya is one of the best English-speaking countries in Africa. And who has made us to be this good English speakers in Africa? 844 system. And we say, Moi, thank you.
Okay, so would you say it's a success thus far?
Of course, 844 has been a success. Listen, the founder of M-Pesa, the inventor of M-Pesa, who's now an MP, a nominated member of parliament, he is an 844 product. Some of the best writers, some of the best anchors like you, some of the best people we have seen in this country and in the world, doing well in Harvard. We are seeing nuclear students right now in Korea, in the US. Most of them are 844 products. So we want to say 7666 was good, but it was colonial.
Okay.
It had a lot of colonial mentality. But 844 almost brought us to where we are.
Almost. Okay, we're going to come back to the 844 and the transition, and of course now that you're even checking into CBC.
Yes.
After Moi's exit, the Kibaki administration introduced the free primary education and the free secondary education as well. So in your assessment, has this advanced equitable access to education in the post-Moi era?
Of course. Again, that injection by President Kibaki, it was a boost to the 844 because it ensured more enrollment. The 844 during Moi's time, it was seen as very expensive. Schooling had become very expensive because maintaining a child in school and all that kind of thing for those 4 years was becoming a problem. So Kibaki brought in the financing part of it, free day school, free day secondary, and free primary. And they increased enrollment in schools. That's when you saw people like the old Mzee who enrolled at 85. That time, was it Mzee Gitao? I can't remember the name. But enrollment went up. And again, the international community, Kibaki was honored by United Nations and by the president of the US at that time. He honored Kibaki for that, for injecting in the FPE, the free primary and free secondary. And he injected it basing on the Moi Foundation. Moi had already brought up enrollment. Moi had increased girl-child education. In fact, if there are people who should be grateful in this country, should be the ladies. Because Moi brought women on board in education. This thing you see people making fun about, that Moi built Moi girls, Moi what, Moi Siongiroi girls, Moi Juinangili girls. It was because Mois saw the need of a girl child in school. And today the women have taken over from men, I mean like me, because women are now in every sector. The reason of that has happened is Mois. Mois, thank you.
All right, and we thank Mois for that, but just putting the Mois situation aside, the government is currently trying to push for 100% transition to secondary school. Is this a push that is justified, especially for those who are not academically gifted and may not necessarily want to move past the primary level of certification?
In fact, it's a whole total confusion, because if you look at the CBC, you cannot, when you want to transcend or to remove people, a whole group, 100%, you first of all have to think about the structures, think about the teachers, think about where they'll sit, the desks, the dining hall, the sanitation, the toilets, and all these kind of things. These things are so important in a planner. You cannot just wake up in the morning and claim, I want to move a whole of this studio or a whole of this house to another house. You must have planned this house for it to move from Kenyatta Avenue to Moi Avenue. What are the logistics? So what is happening, what Magoha and his friends are doing, is actually, when you look at it, it's like some kind of drama. Schools are congested. No learning is going on. And I want to give a very, in fact, before I go on, I want to say really, it's a very sad thing what we saw in Kakamega. And our condolences to the children and the families in Kakamega. And one of the reasons why that happened in Kakamega, it is because of the congestion. Those kids, I read the statistics, there are 3,000 primary school kids in that school against 73 teachers and 51 classrooms. 3,000 students sitting in 51 classrooms. That means an average of a class is almost 70, 80, 90, going to 90. So all we are saying, before you think about transcending these peoples to a secondary school, plan. Moi was a planner. Moi, when he was doing the 844, he planned for it. He did a research. The McKay Commission, he got the legislation, he got the funding from World Bank.
Okay.
That's what we are not
And
doing
I want
today.
you to look at this question from this other angle.
Yes,
Looking
please.
at those students who feel like they're not academically gifted.
Yeah.
Is it fair for them, or is it necessary for them to be pushed past the primary level?
Of course not. If not all of us are gifted academically to go into high school. I am a high school teacher. I trained at Kenyatta University. I've taught at high schools for 21 years. And I want to tell you, not all the kids who come to my class in Form 1, Form 2 are capable. Most of the things that we teach in high school are not the things that we teach in primary. Primary is the 3 R's: writing, reading, arithmetic. Those are the basic skills that you need. From there, some of them can make it to vocational schools. Some of them can make it even to start doing something in their lives. You don't need to go to a high school for you to be considered educated. It is even wrong. And it's not even part of the UN. It's not even recommended that you must force a child who may not make it, who may not really feel like going, to force that person to the next level.
All right. You see, we started this conversation very well, and you
Yes,
stated
please.
clearly that the 844 system that was brought in by the late
President
Daniel
Moi.
Arap Moi was all about, he was looking at technicality, he was looking at the skill-based. So how did 844 end up becoming very theoretical, and it was all about students checking into class and cramming?
What happened?
In real sense, if you take a look at what people outside there say, you'll just scare. 844, it's just off. It's all about cramming and passing
and
the exams. Exactly. So where do we?
Where do the race beat us?
Exactly.
Actually,
where do you strike that balance between the theory and practical?
Politics. Let me tell you, Moi himself said, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Maisha mbaya, siasa mbaya. So the siasa that we have had, even after, as Moi also fought off his enemies, by the Moi has been called names like dictator. But you know, Moi, given the skills he had that time and the country he had that time, he had to survive as a president. He had to use all the means. And the politics of this country, whereby people, you bring in an education minister, the education minister wants to come up with his different rules.
Yeah.
He wants to change things, wants to change the principles. What has spoiled education in Kenya is politics. The experts like us, like me, we never given a chance to speak. We are not even allowed to sit where people are who are making the real decisions that affect education. People who decide for us some of them are surgeons. They never sat in an education class. Some of them are, like Kaimenyi was, I don't know, a dentist. He was not a professional teacher. In fact, I can't remember the last time, it must have been in Mois government, that a teacher, a trained teacher like me was a minister for education. I can't remember. Most of the people coming to become ministers of education are either guys who are just some political rejects somewhere, or some guys who just, did some chemistry. Some people like Magoha who did some surgery, and they think they can be education. They can't. Education is a profession.
All right, and Munga, at this moment we are transitioning to CBC.
Yes.
So are we ready to get there? How are we going to balance the theory and the practical when we check into the CBC
Yes, we are
properly?
praying. CBC is one of the best systems that can ever be.
Will we be able to balance,
That's the
considering
question.
what 844 has
Yes.
done?
You look at, even recently, there's been a picture doing rounds on social media, a muddy classroom in Meru County, whereby the children are learning as the floods flow through the class. What we are saying is this: CBC would have worked if we had piloted it well, legislated it well, gone to parliament, gotten the funds. As I speak right now, I even wish CBC could be a BBI, part of the BBI agenda, because Kenyans have not discussed the CBC. Kenyans have not been given a chance to sit through and understand what is CBC. So it's a good thing, but when you don't know something, it's even dangerous, it's even poison to you. If I know how to use my phone, it's good to me. But if you give me this phone without a manual,
And likes purpose.
how I'll use it and it will not be of help. In fact, it can kill me. That's what CBC will do to Kenyans.
Okay.
They don't know what it is. The teachers don't know what it is. Experts like me don't know what it's all about.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, anything can happen.
Okay, as we wind up, tell me, how would you describe Moi's relationship with Nat?
Moi was the founder of NAT. Moi was a P1 teacher. Moi was among the people who went to Lancaster House. And when he came back, Moi was the founder of NAT. Well, at one point when NAT became very hard, Moi separated us with Kupet. He allowed Kupet to start doing their drama and their thing. But he divided us. But that's leadership. Leadership is not about divide and rule. But the NAT itself, Moi is still considered as member number 1 of the Kenya National Union of Teachers. Moi is teacher number 1 in this country. And Moi is the father of public education in this country.
So how would be the best way to honor the former President Moi's contribution as an educationist?
Wow, I think the best thing is if we can make this country go back to supporting public education. Public education. I'm not talking about those profiteers and those private things that you see, groups of schools and academies. During Moi's times, we didn't have those things. We want to go back to supporting public school education in this country.
All right, thank you so much. That was Peter Munga, who's an education analyst and also a member of NAT. I'd like us to move on very quickly. 5 state corporations in the State Department of Industry have partnered to consolidate funds to address the problem of lack of access to credit by micro, small, medium enterprises in the country. Now, the Kenya Industrial Estate, the Industrial Development Bank, ICDC, the Kenya National Trading Corporation, and the Medium and Small Enterprise Authority have signed a memorandum of understanding allocating 4 billion shillings from their budgets to go towards the strengthening of MSMEs at a grassroots level.
And we brought together synergies and the available resources from these institutions of 4 billion to strengthen SMEs at the grassroots. And the whole idea is to make credit accessible and also cheap. And as you realize from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, SMEs contribute about 81 or 82% of jobs in this country. And the same institution also says that 98% of all registered enterprises are SMEs. So by impacting and taking to the grassroots, you are really taking employment creation and wealth creation to the grassroots to make that difference. We are now going to the rural areas and to peri-urban areas so that we sensitize SMEs on these opportunities, but also to build capacity so they're able to utilize these resources.
SMEs need to upscale their operations because too many SMEs remain small. They are not able to upscale. And a lot of this has to do with access to markets, access to production methods, modern production methods, access to good training, and also access to finance. So we are looking at how we can package these needs and deliver them to the SME to make them more effective and to upgrade them to a higher productivity.
All right, so the Kenyan private sector business activity declined solidly at the start of the year. Latest Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index of the PMI data showed amid the slowest growth in new orders since last April. January saw the headline PMI fall below the 50 threshold for the first time since last April, posting a 49.7 to signal a slight decline in business conditions in the Kenyan private sector economy. This compared with a reading of 53.3 in December. Overall activity levels contracted solidly at the start of the year as firms reported that a lack of money at households led to much softer demand pressure. Poor weather conditions also curbed output in many businesses. The rate of decline was the quickest over the past 2 years, and panelists widely link this to weaker customer demand on the local front as a result of poor cash flow in the economy. However, firms selling to international markets saw one of the sharpest increases in new export orders on record. Meanwhile, 3 insurance firms have terminated their dealings with Nairobi Women's Hospital and urged their customers to visit alternative hospitals. The 3 insurance firms are the AAR Insurance, UAP Old Mutual Insurance, and CIC Insurance. They notified their customers that they had suspended services at the Nairobi Women's Hospital. Now, the 3 insurers, however, did not detail their reasons for the decision. And the Association of Kenya Insurance Chief Executive, that's Tom Gichuhi, told one of their local dailies that a meeting with all insurance had resolved not to honor future bills at the hospital. And the hospital has recently been subject to controversy following reports that it holds patients longer than necessary in an attempt to inflate hospital bills. The hospital has since said in a statement that it was investigating the claims and would announce its findings next month. All right, so our primetime bulletin comes to an end, but not all programming comes to an end right here on Metropol TV. Up next is the boss lady with the Australian Nina Shaban. So for now, from me, I, and our sign language interpreter, and the whole Metropol TV fraternity, we do wish you a lovely night.